I'd like to tell you a favorite. I'm going to tell you two literary stories in this program. Most of the stories I tell are folk tales, but every once in a while I find a literary tale that I just love. They're literary fairy tales, writers who have used the form of the folk tale, but done something a little bit different with it, and done it in very wonderful language. This story is one some of you may have read to your children, or your parents may have read to you at some point. And as long as I've been telling it, I still love it. Some stories I get tired of after a while, but not this one. This one is a James Thurber story, and it's called Many Moons. A long time ago in a kingdom by the sea, there lived a little princess named Lenore. She was 9 years old, going on 10. One day, Lenore fell ill from a surfeit of raspberry tarts, and she took to her bed. The royal physician came to see her, and he took her temperature, and he felt her pulse, and he made her stick out her tongue. The royal physician was worried, and he sent for Lenore's father, the king, to come. And the king came, and he said, "Is there anything your heart desires?" "Yes," she said, "I want the moon. If I can have the moon, I will be well again." Now the king had a great many wise men who always got for him anything he asked for, so he told her that she could have the moon. Then he went to the throne room, and he pulled on the bell cord 3 long pulls and a short pull, and presently the Lord High Chamberlain came into the room. The Lord High Chamberlain was a great big man who wore thick glasses. The glasses made his eyes look twice as big as they really were, which made the Lord High Chamberlain look twice as wise as he really was. "I want you to get the moon. The Princess Lenore needs the moon so that she will be well again." "The moon," said the Lord High Chamberlain, his eyes growing twice as big, which made him look 4 times as wise as he really was. "Yes, the moon, M-O-O-N, moon, get it. Tonight. Tomorrow at the latest." "But, Your Majesty, everybody knows the moon is 35,000 miles away. What's more, it's bigger than the room the Princess Lenore lies in, and it's made of molten copper. I cannot get the moon for you." The king flew into a rage, and he sent the Lord High Chamberlain away, and he called for the royal wizard to come. The royal wizard was a skinny little man who wore a pointed blue cap and a long red robe. "I want you to get the moon. The Princess Lenore needs the moon so that she will be well again." "Your Majesty, ask me for anything but the moon I'll get for you, but the moon is 150,000 miles away. What's more, it's made of green cheese, and it's twice the size of the palace." The king flew into a rage, and he sent the royal wizard away and called for the royal mathematician to come. "If you're so smart, figure out a way to get the moon for me." "Your Majesty, everybody knows the moon is 300,000 miles away. It is made of asbestos and flat like a coin and pasted on the sky. It is half the size of this kingdom. Nobody can get the moon for you." Well, the king flew into another rage, and he sent the royal mathematician away and called for the court jester to come. The court jester came dressed in his motley and cap and bells. "What can I do for you, Your Majesty?" "Nobody can do anything for me. The Princess Lenore wants the moon, and she will not be well until she gets it. But nobody can get it for her. Whenever I ask my wise men, it only gets larger and farther away. Play something on your lute, something sad." The court jester began to play on his lute. "How large and how far away do they say it is?" "The Lord High Chamberlain says it's 35,000 miles away and bigger than the room the Princess Lenore lies in." "The royal wizard says it's 150,000 miles away and twice the size of the palace. And the royal mathematician says it's 300,000 miles away and half the size of the kingdom." The court jester played on his lute. They're all wise men, and so they must all be right. The moon must be just as large and far away as each person thinks it is. The thing to do is to ask the Princess Lenore how large and far away she thinks it is. I never thought of that. I'll go ask her. And he ran up the long marble staircase to the Princess Lenore's bedroom. There she was, lying in her bed, looking very pale. Have you brought the moon to me? I'll get it for you right away, Princess, but could you tell me, how big is the moon? Oh, it's just a little smaller than my thumbnail, because when I hold my thumb up at night, it just covers it. Oh, and how far away is it? Well, sometimes it gets caught in the top branches of the tree outside my window. Well, tonight, when it gets caught in the top branches, I'll get it for you. And the court jester was about to leave the room when he thought of something else. Princess Lenore, what is the moon made of? Gold, of course, silly. And he went immediately to the royal goldsmith, and he had him make a round little moon just a little smaller than the thumbnail of the Princess Lenore, and he had him hang it on a chain so that she could wear it around her neck. And he gave it to her, and she could go out in the gardens to play. But the king's troubles were not yet over, because he knew that that night the moon would shine in the sky, and the Princess Lenore would see it, and she would be sick again. So he called the Lord High Chamberlain, and he said, I want you to find a way to hide the moon. The Princess Lenore must not see the moon, or she will be sick again. The Lord High Chamberlain tapped on his forehead. I know just the thing. We will make dark glasses for the Princess Lenore. We will make them so dark that she will not be able to see anything through them, and if she cannot see anything through them, then she will not see the moon in the sky. That's a terrible idea, said the king. If the Princess Lenore wears dark glasses, she'll bump into things and she will be sick again. And he sent the Lord High Chamberlain away, and he called for the royal wizard. I want you to figure out a way right now to hide the moon so the Princess Lenore will not see it when it shines in the sky tonight. The royal wizard stood on his hands, and he stood on his head, and he stood on his feet. I know just the thing. We'll build a circus tent, a big black tent over the whole palace. And then the Princess Lenore will not be able to see the sky. That's a terrible idea. A black tent will keep out the air. If the princess cannot breathe fresh air, she will be sick again. And he flew into a rage, and he sent the royal wizard away and called for the royal mathematician. I want you to figure out a way right now to hide the moon so that the Princess Lenore will not see it when it shines in the sky. And the royal mathematician walked in a circle, and he walked in a square, and he stood still. I know just the thing. We'll put off fireworks every night, silver fountains and golden cascades, and it will fill the air with so much light that the Princess Lenore will not be able to see the moon when it shines in the sky. That's a terrible idea. Fireworks will keep the Princess Lenore awake at night, and if she doesn't get any sleep, she will be sick again. And he sent the royal mathematician away, and he noticed that it was getting dark out, and the moon was just beginning to peep over the horizon. And very quickly he called for the court jester to come. What can I do for you, your majesty? Nobody can do anything for me. Tonight, when the Princess Lenore sees the moon in the sky, she will know that it is not the real moon that she wears around her neck. She will be sick again. Play something on your lute, something sad. Court jester began to play on his lute. If your wise men cannot find a way to hide the moon, then it cannot be hidden. And just then, the king jumped out of his throne, and he said, Look, the moon is already shining in the sky. Who can say how the princess can be wearing the moon around her neck when it is hanging in the sky? And the court jester stopped playing on his lute. Who could say how to get the moon when your wise men said it was too large and too far away? It was the Princess Lenore. Therefore, she knows more about the moon than they do, so I will ask her. And before the king could stop him, he ran up the long marble staircase to the Princess Lenore's bedroom. There she was, lying in her bed, looking at the moon around her neck and at the one outside the window. And very mournfully, he asked her, Princess Lenore, how could it be that the moon is hanging around your neck and that it also hangs in the sky? That's easy, silly. If I lose a tooth, a new one grows in its place. That's right, he said. And when a unicorn loses a horn in the forest, a new horn grows. And when the royal gardener cuts the flowers, new flowers grow. That's right. And it must be the same with the moon. And it must be the same with everything. And her voice grew very soft, and she fell asleep. The court jester tucked her in. But before he left the room, he went over to the window and he winked at the moon, because it seemed to him that the moon was winking at him.